you don't know what your words could do to somebody, especially if they're in a low position. Just because they don't look like they're going through it doesn't mean they are. So my granddad had a stoma. My dad's side from Barbados, so I've got a black dad, white mum. Caribbean people are just, they don't talk about anything. um, and especially when I had my ADHD assessment, the therapist, the ADHD specialist, she was black. And when we were talking about like growing up, and they ask you all this stuff about your childhood, and I just had let my like dad's side of just like my nan, it's like a what is this thing, you know? And even my little cousin, he's 4, he's so smart, he's got autism, but if you told him just threw any sort of dinosaur bone, oh my god, I feel like so stupid because I haven't got a clue, and he can tell you them all, and it'll be like, I think it's a herbivore, it's the kind. I'm like, I haven't got a clue, but my nan doesn't understand sometimes, like with little bits of like the behaviors, not like the smartness, but like, you know, just little bits of autism. And the therapist even said the same. She was like, oh my god, like I get it from my family, like as an African family that she's come from, like it's a complete normal thing. And they don't understand it, and then black people have like this sense of pride where they don't feel like they're scared to talk about these things. So when my granddad had the stoma bag, he did not talk about it. It was before I had mine, and sadly, like, he passed away before I had mine, which sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish he was here when I had it, because I wonder if it would have been different, or it could have helped, or because I didn't know what it was at the time. We just knew like granddad had like this bag on his stomach. We weren't really sure what it was because he never showed us, and like he needed help sometimes to change it. I didn't have a clue because he did not speak about it, and he would never speak about it. And again, like with my nan and the mental health thing, my cousin has Crohn's disease, but touch wood, she's had no surgery, but she has a lot of mental health, and you know, she'll go through really sad blips and depression, and she has had it hard in general. Like her mum passed away of bowel cancer, and but sometimes my nan won't understand why she's like not been up for a few weeks. Like, you know, why hasn't she called? Why hasn't she? I'm like, but when she's like this, you just leave her to process stuff, leave her on her own. Like, you know, when we get days where I'm just really like, I just need to be on my own. And she doesn't understand that. And it's, again, the lack of where we don't talk about these things in that community. So I did a talk for the Barbados Association in Reading, and this was for Black History Month. And there were so many, we did it on like Crohn's disease and the symptoms. And I forced my cousin with Crohn's to come up then. I was like, you got to get used to speaking like this. So she came up and helped me. But and she did really good, bless her. But it was a lot of people came forward at the end then and said, oh, I've been diagnosed at this age, or I was misdiagnosed, or I've had it for this long. And it was like crazy because they all agreed that just the black community don't talk about these things. And that's what I think is important, of making other people of color aware, to know that it's safe to talk about these. It doesn't make you weak, it doesn't make you a type of way, it's nothing, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, you know, like mentally, or how they think, oh, there's obviously something, you know. It's okay. Everyone on that journey at the Barbados Association, or just people that I speak to online, they say they do feel alone with it, especially if you come from like a really strict, say, African background or Caribbean background, with the strict, it's just the older generations more so are worse. And I think because hidden disabilities like Crohn's disease aren't spoken about at all, really, that's why, again, they're not going to speak about it. But also, when I went to Parliament with Crohn's and colitis in December we're nearly there again, but like last December, the misdiagnosis for Crohn's disease is the highest it's been since 2019, and we even still had brought out that symptom checker to try and prevent misdiagnosis, which I presented at Parliament the year before because obviously of what happened to me. And since that video, and even since 2019, we're still the highest of misdiagnosis, and especially with people of colour. And again, ADHD is something that my nan probably wouldn't even begin to understand. So, and depression and just everything like that for the black community, it's just stuff that they don't talk about. So on my notes that I've put, like, obviously that it goes back into history, where women of colour were used as guinea pigs, really. For procedures without any, I can never, anaesthetic is the word, without any anaesthetic or anything like that. So they were just tested on, and then the procedure, when it was done on a white woman, was then obviously anaesthetic was used in painkillers, because for some reason they felt like black women would have a higher pain threshold, which obviously isn't true. And I think it stemmed from there, where then maybe like black women sometimes have just got on with it, and again with their symptoms and not really said anything. And when obviously everything happened to me, my surgeon said he was not surprised that I was misdiagnosed, because it's still very common in women of color. And even in like this modern day, it's like, well, how is this the thing? And I have done like some research on that before, because I'm in the process of writing a book on like my journey and what's happened. But for someone that goes on, you know, that if this ever happens to somebody, they know they're not alone. But it's for anybody, any woman out there that feels. But on my research of this, I found out that like 1 in 4 hospital patients who died or were transferred to intensive care had experienced a diagnostic error. Now that's for black women or women of color. Nearly 18% of misdiagnosed patients were harmed or died. I was misdiagnosed and I died on the table and was brought back. Luckily, I'm here. But the fact is, I might not have been, and it was due to misdiagnosis. Again, women and racial and ethnic minorities are 20% to 30% more likely than a white man to experience a misdiagnosis. And I think that's because we aren't being listened to. What happened to me? Oh, you're a dancer, you're a model, you're definitely anorexic. Oh, you've got IBS. This, that, this. I've got Crohn's, as I said, my cousin, she's black. She has Crohn's disease. And we said this constantly to the doctors. And all they would say to me is, oh, no, you don't have Crohn's. It's definitely not Crohn's. Well, it was Crohn's. And the only reason my cousin got tested and diagnosed with Crohn's is because where her mum had passed of bowel cancer, where she was having blood in her stools and stuff, they wanted to test. Well, and I always say I'm so grateful that it was Crohn's over bowel cancer, because I get that it's not great, but she still got to live her life. And again, my symptoms were not common. I did not have blood in my poo. Even to this day, when I flare, I've had blood in my poo about twice. Really not much either. And this is literally, I had it in Miami, and I was there with my boyfriend, and it was after a burger, I think, because I can't really eat a lot of like red meat. And I remember saying to my surgeon when I was like, oh, I think I was tomato sauce. And he was like, no, Natalie, I don't think it was tomato sauce. I was like, well, I was gonna say it's quite like, you know, it just all come out. I was like, well, it only happened for a day. I was like, no, it was not tomato sauce. But I was convincing myself it was. But I've only had blood in my, and when I flare even to this day, I'm always sick. I throw up. My belly is agonizing. I look like I'm literally about to give birth. And that's, again, I had itchy eyes. I had the bad skin growing up before my misdiagnosis, when it got really bad. My eyes were always itchy. I had so many uncommon symptoms. And again, one thing that I always can't stress enough is, and this is why when we brought out the symptom checker, just because you don't have those symptoms of Crohn's that they say should be for IBD, doesn't mean you don't have it. When I have my blood tests, sometimes they come back fine, even when I'm in a massive flare. And my surgeon said that sometimes that can happen. So some people's results can come back fine, but it's unless you do a colonoscopy or another way of testing, then you wouldn't know I was flaring. And I cannot shout this enough, because so many people are fobbed off by the doctors because their results come back fine. And that's what was happening to me all those years of those blood tests. But if she'd just gave me a colonoscopy, you know, but I'm grateful that it happened the way it has now, because then it made me the person I am. But again, this is why women of color are just pushed to the side. I think the role social media plays, and social media is huge. Reason being is because you can reach so many people, as you know, with a chronic illness. So I'm freelance because then it's easier for me. And my PT client, one of them, she's from Ohio. Now she's going for her 24th surgery in September. Bless her. Hopefully her last one. She's going for Barbie butt surgery, so it should be her last one. And she found me on Instagram. So and she came to me because of what I specialize in, and because I understand her and she understands me, and I get and especially because she's had all those surgeries, she's got a scar like mine. So I completely get some exercises we are never putting in. For example, the Russian twist. Oh my goodness, guard cramp to the max. Like never ever. So I understand her body, and I also understand when she's tired or fatigued. So I specialize in women with chronic illnesses for that reason, and all on Zoom, so that if I'm tired, I don't have to leave the house, or if they're tired, they don't have to worry. It's so much easier. But that helped me. That helped her find me. But it's also helped me find a community of other people that are like me with stoma bags. And you know, now where I'm an ambassador for EKIN, which is the stoma bag company that I used to wear when I had a stoma. It used to be called Pelican, and they've changed the name. And I have so many friends that I've met, like the other ambassadors, and every year they do a get together. So we've just had the August one, and it's just so nice because you feel like you're with a community that understands you. And I have the most supportive friends and family, but it's different when they haven't gone through the same as you. You have these people here that can relate in their own ways, or they get it. So it's brought me to so many amazing opportunities and to meet so many beautiful people, and to have like people message me from all around the world, some of that are in their 60s, 70s, and they're like, oh, you helped me so much, and now I'm going to embrace my scar. Or mums that have little girls that have scars, and they're like, I've showed her your page so she knows that she's okay and not alone. And I think so it's just it's so impactful. I know that it can have its negatives. Like I love the troll comments because it gives good content, so I'm like, just keep them coming, you know. But I had like someone, for example, say Frankenstein stomach trend, which was fine because I then thought, oh, this is good content, gives me something to create. But again, like, you're going to have bad, but the good always outweighs. And I think also it helps people to be educated. So again, if someone's a little bit afraid or scared or going not understanding it, and don't have anyone to talk to, they could go on your page, save your posts, and they understand that, oh, I remember this person said this or this, and it helps. And if they're not confident yet to go and talk to a doctor, sometimes they might need to see the post, and then it's the push that they need. That question is very important to me, because I've experienced my own journey with misdiagnosis as well, and not knowing that I had a hidden disability, and how I was treated in the workplace. So my negatives were I worked in a hotel, behind the bar, and did all the like restaurant stuff. And I had just a horrible manager, and he never understood why I wasn't in sometimes. Or again, he tried to make me carry a bucket of ice, which I always find funny when I think about it now. Like, I could do it now because I'm always in the gym, and I'd probably do it to prove a point. But I would not. That was ridiculous. I was like, as I said, 6 stone by the time I collapsed. I looked severe. I always say that when people ask how I looked, and if you see pictures of me, I look like a child of the Holocaust. This is exactly how I looked. And he's expecting me to lug this big bucket of ice. He wanted to get rid of me because he just didn't feel like, I guess he just didn't feel like I was good at the job, because not being in, or not being able to carry a bucket of ice. And the HR lady was lovely. She said, no, there's definitely something going on. You know, you need to go to the doctors more. And even though we were in the middle of doing all of that, she was just lovely though. But she signed me off for 2 weeks, and I still have her on Facebook and things this day. And when I bump into her, she's just, because she's seen my journey and seen how I actually was really ill. And I never forget her either, because she was kind to me at that time. And again, Kurt Geiger, absolutely lovely. Like, my manager there, I just loved her, and I will always love her, because she just made sure that I had food out the back. She went, you need to go and eat now, like, go out, go and have food. Or when I was ill, I could have as much time as I wanted off. Like, she wouldn't be like, you got to have this certain amount of time. She just got it. And now obviously I've done a lot of like stuff for Kurt Geiger. I do a lot of social stuff for them, but I've also done their Empowering People campaign. And that's when they have you just one-to-one, and you tell your story, and they put it all over their YouTube. And she saw me on that and was like, oh my God, because she does the area manager in London now. And I got a message on Instagram. It was like, I thought it was a weird account because she had no picture, but she's always been quite down low. She's like, it's Kaylee, I've just seen you. And I said, I actually added you into my like talk, but obviously they couldn't use, because it would look suspicious. I'm using a manager from Kurt Geiger to say, but no, and I've never forgot her, because she just was one of the nicest people that, when I was going through that I worked for. And like, it was just really grateful. Going back to stuff in the workplace, my cousin who has Crohn's, you know, her work always have issues with her. They're trying to put her on like whatever they call them, like programs, or for her always being ill. But again, it's because they don't understand. They don't understand Crohn's disease. They don't understand, because she's not had surgery, or because, as you see when you look at her or look at me, we don't have, you wouldn't know we have a disability, an invisible, like, you know, because technically people are just going to go, oh, you're not in a wheelchair, so you can't be disabled. And it's a struggle for her, and it's been a struggle for a lot of people in my like Crohn's or colitis, like IBD community, to stick at jobs, because they're either let go, managers make it difficult for them. There was an article that came out in a few weeks ago. A lady's just took her work to court, and she won, because her manager got rid of her because of her Crohn's, and she won. So yeah, she got a buyout. So that's good. Like, because at least that whoever the judge was, thank goodness they understood, whether they knew someone or, but it's a lot. And workplaces could do so much better by maybe having, I don't know if they could have like a special support person that specializes in that. I understand it's hard to understand every chronic illness going or every disability, but to try and make a little bit of an understanding or have a bit of compassion and not be so mean about it, and to have a safe, friendly environment, to maybe start putting, you know, the signs on the door that say not every disability is visible. That was a big thing in Cannes when we spoke in Cannes Liars this year. One of the things I did bring up when we had like to the meeting with the person that does all the disability and inclusion, I said the one big thing I found missing was those signs, because it's so important, especially in France. I think they're quite not up to date with disabilities. We had a lot of problems. It was a nightmare. And that was one of the things I think could have helped as well. Having that on the, not every disability is visible, so you can't judge. It's going into a toilet, say somewhere Starbucks, and you get judged because they're like, well, why are you using that toilet? You know, I shouldn't have to explain. Or do you want me to show you my scar? Do you want me to show you my Crohn's card? Do you, you know, like people are just, and if I see anybody going into these toilets or using, you know, a bathroom that's just for, yeah, like the disabled toilets, I would never say, why are you going in there? Because you do not know what somebody's going through. And I think it's so important that the workplace, they start, I'll say getting with the times, just getting to understand and educate themselves. Having people like myself or other people with disabilities go in and educate them. One of the things I've always wanted to do was go into schools and educate them on like Crohn's disease and stomas. Reason being is because when I was just had my reversal, I never forgot it because I cried in Asda car park. So I remember where it was. But I read this little boy killed himself. He was 9 in London, America, sorry, because he was bullied for having a stoma. And I never forgot where I was, and it just made me really sad. And then I was like, I want to go and educate kids, because kids are scary. I think they're scary. They tell the truth, like they're evil at times. And like my little cousins, if they tell me I don't look cool, I'm gonna believe them. um, but it's just kids don't understand like how words can hurt so much. Well, they should, but you know, and they can, words do hurt. That boy got bullied so much he killed himself. So he hasn't even lived his life for having a stoma that saved his life. So it's stuff like that I think is very important. And even, yeah, again, same sort of thing in the workplace. You don't know what your words could do to somebody, especially if they're in a low position. Just because they don't look like they're going through it doesn't mean they aren't. They could go home that night and want to hurt themselves because of how their work colleagues are treating them, because then they start to think, well, what's wrong with me? Why how can't I just get it together? Why don't they understand? Going back to like the chronic fatigue thing, where they wouldn't understand, oh, well, why are you, you know, you're just sitting at a desk, so why are you so tired? Well, if only it was that easy. Airports are really big as well. They are massively, really not great. And I think that they need severe training in disabilities that are hidden. So I've had it a lot, especially in Bristol Airport. They are one of the worst airports. And I just, for me, Bristol Airport, I always know I'm going to have a problem there, which I always do. Last time it was because I had a disability card, but because I'm not like looking, I don't look like I'm disabled. The reason that sometimes I find it easier just to queue and not skip the queue because I just can't be bothered with the argument. But when I need a toilet, I need to go, and there's where I have like a little bit of my bowel left, I just cannot hold it. So the reason that I will then go through the special assistance line for speedy getting through security is for that reason. It's because if I need to go to the toilet, I'm going to the toilet. Like I cannot control it. But sometimes I feel like it's just easier to risk it and put myself in the line because of the way that they treat you. And I've had a few people that have stomas that have had severe issues in airports because they want to check your stoma to make sure you're not smuggling drugs. And I get like, you know, the airports have to do their thing, but come on. This is a medical, and that's because they don't know what a stoma is or they don't get it. And that is it's still personal. I'm not going to show someone my bum hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing, but just your intestine. That's a personal thing to somebody. And it's optional if people want to show their stoma online or not. But it's a very personal thing. So, like, why do I want this stranger looking at it because you think I've smuggled drugs in it? It's just, I don't know. Like, I just think it's really, and the way that they treat you, they don't ask kindly or say, oh, I'm really sorry to do this, the reason is we have to follow. They just want to see everything. And and I've had people that have been shouted at because they're too slow at putting things on the side, and like, come on, just. And it's just, airports are really bad, and I think that they are one of the biggest places that need a lot of education on stuff like this, especially with the hidden disabilities. They just think because you're not in a wheelchair, well, you're obviously overreacting, or you're exaggerating. And again, the lack of when I came back from Cannes, I said it was fine. I really, because I had special assistants in the UK, they gave me it on the way back, which I didn't realise. So they were shouting my name on the tannoy, and I was like, oh God. So I went to the front and I said, I don't need help, I'm fine, because I was fine. And she was like, no, we have to lead you to the front of the plane. So like, I was like, oh. So my mum obviously came with me, but I was so embarrassed. It's because everyone's just looking at me. And I was like, but I don't need help. It was just the way to get through security on the way there. So then there's me going through, and I feel again, it's the lack of people. They just don't understand. And then I feel like everyone's judging me, and it shouldn't be a thing, but it is. And it's the same with the trains. I feel like I have to explain why I have a disabled rail card, and I don't need to explain, but I automatically, when they ask to see it, I'm like, I have Crohn's. But why do they need to know that I've got Crohn's? And my mum's at you need to stop doing that, because that's just the whole point of raising awareness for hidden disabilities. But it's the way people judge you and make you feel like you have to explain. And I shouldn't have to, but I feel like, oh, because I'm not in a wheelchair, they're going to be like, well, you're lying. I don't know, just something crazy. There's so much that needs to be done in these workplaces, like massively. But I think airports are on the top of my list for like the way that they treat. It's just horrible, and it's upsetting. And if you're new to having a stoma, it's very like, it will just ruin your confidence. There's a few things that I hope that they take. So first of all, the importance of not judging somebody. Just because they're not in a wheelchair doesn't mean they're not disabled or have a hidden disability. One of my main ones is to realize the importance of living your life, because it's a privilege to be able to, not have chronic fatigue, or to not have Crohn's disease, or to not have to worry about pooing yourself, or to not have to worry if you're ever going to end up in surgery again and wake up with, a stoma bag again, or worse, God forbid, that you don't wake up that time. I think I hope that it inspires people to realize how lucky they are, but also how to be mindful and to be very kind. I don't want it to be so like, oh, now we have to do it all by the book. I just want people to be inspired and to know that they have to be kind, and to just not judge, and then also for them to realize that they're just very lucky. Like, we take stuff for granted when it's not us. And I feel like I've done that. I was very ignorant, I'd say, to realizing what's missing and how to do better for people with hidden disabilities or disabilities before I was diagnosed. Because again, why would I have looked at that? I should have, but why would I? Because it's not affecting me. And that's what a lot of people do. And again, that's why then they treat staff members at work that have these problems or differently, because they don't get it. And it's also being not afraid to ask these questions. It's not, you're not going to get told off for asking a question. You might think, oh, they won't want me to ask that. How can you learn if you don't ask a question? No question is silly, and it's just about educating yourself. And I'd rather someone ask me a question just because they want to know than them being scared to ask it, than making a silly mistake down the line.